main category ID and main category name carry from first day from from the product drop down. You click on the main category, and when you go down to the category Asbx, the first day, right? And then when you click the subcategory, and that becomes the state number 2. And one way to preserve that main category ID, main category name is still using the query variable. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, kind of. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Okay, so why not let me just go to Firefox. I have already run this default Asbx in the browser. So let's go to okay, you see the online store?
Yeah.
Okay, now here, when when I click, right now, desktop, laptop, tablet all have this main category name, okay, and main category ID, right? If you take a look at somewhere on the bottom, when I mouse over desktop, you see main category ID equal to 1, laptop, main category ID equal to 2, tablet, main category ID equal to 3, plus their prospective main category names, right? So these are hard-coded, okay? Even though it's dynamically created in the server side, but once you push it out to the client side in the browser, it is all just predefined, pre-developed, like hard-coded. And then when I click this desktop, it requests category.asbx. So these two query variables, were sent over to create, to the server. Server run this category.asbx, and then when you send it back, okay, we have this subcategory list out here. Okay, so at that time, this is the end of the first day. Okay, again, in the first day is when you click this, all right, you send it to server to run category Asbx. When you send it back, you have this. Okay, that's the end of first day. Now, on the second day, you see here, for Dell, 001 or HP 555, you can see on the bottom, you still have the main category ID and main category name, but you also have subcategory ID and subcategory name. So the main category ID, you need to preserve it because you need it for second state. Right? Second state is when you click it, you you ask category Asbx to show subcategory here. I don't have here. This is your homework, right? I only have this feature product. Supposedly you should have all the products listed out here for Dell 001. And then when when category Asbx send back the result, okay, we still have this subcategories for desktop as the main category with plus the product list for desktop. So at the very beginning when you do this, the first step, you send over query string ID, main category ID, main category name to the server. Once the ASP down and runs this ASP category Asbx, these two are gone. Okay, when category Asbx send back the result in HTML format like this, what you see right now, these main category ID and main category name is query variable, and the server is gone. And so it created a problem for us to transfer data between state. So that's one of the ways to still keep main category ID and main category name is, again, do it here. Send it over again, through query variable. That's why here we have main category ID as the first query variable, main category name as the second query variable, and then we have subcategory ID, subcategory name as the other two query variable. That is what I'm talking about. Okay. In order to to manage state or session, number one to do is use get. That's get. Okay. And then second approach is called the post. And that has to be done through in the form, through form. Okay. Then in this case, we have what we have. Even it's through form. Okay. The browser will construct this still, but we don't get to see it. Okay. Well, remember I told you, right? When the user complete a form, he clicks the submit button. Then the browser will then go to the form tag to get the server program, and then add a question mark, and then go to every single form field, and using the name of the form field is query variable name, and then the value inside the form field is value. Do the same thing like this, but we don't get to see it. This will get to send over to whatever server program that the server to run this server program. Okay. Now this we have control, right? And this we don't have control because this is depends on at the time the customer or the user click the submit button. So that you may have value for for query number one. You may not have value for query number two. But this one here is all hard coded. Okay. Now the third approach is called server side session. Server side. How do I say that? It's okay. Let me just say server side session variables. Now, whatever you send, through get or post, when the server has it at that time, okay, when that stays still there, we can then create a session variable. It's more like a variable stored in the memory, and then store in the memory, and keep that session variable in the memory at all time. Okay. So next time, when you go to state number 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, you can always check, the memory to see if you have the value for those, from the or those, session variable, and then use it. In other words, let me go over back to the browser. Now here, browser. When I click desktop, okay, at that time, the category Asbx, we now have this, two query variable, right? Okay. At that time, at the server side, the category Asbx at that time, before before category Asbx finish its job, create session variable to store main category ID and main category name. Okay, and then all the subsequent requests to any kind of pages, you can check to see if the session variable main category ID exists or has a value, and then use it. And that so using this approach, we basically just keep those values on the server side. Okay, and then it will stay there until the session expired. What I mean by session expired is either you close out, you turn off your browser, or you let your browser at that time inactive for 15 minutes. By default, 15 minutes. It can be configured. Okay. If we just become, if we just don't do anything, let's say, let me go back one more time. Let's say over here, okay, we don't even, we actually, in the subcategory here, we don't have main category ID and main category name. That's query variable. We already save that values on server. Okay, but you didn't do anything. You just you leave your desk. You go out to have lunch. Come back like 30 minutes. Okay, because the session time span is set to 15 minutes by default. You're gonna automatically lose that session. And then and at that time, when you click this one, when you click it and when you come back, you're not gonna have the subcategory display here because you are using session variable to do that. So so the session variable is very useful. Okay, of course it's not but it depends. But most of the time this is still very viable. This is still viable, but I would say for security reason this is the best. Okay, because everything that you send to the browser, okay, like you hard coded, the subcategory that you have, main category ID, main category name, subcategory ID, subcategory name. All these values can be tempered, can be altered before it gets to gets sent out to the server. The same thing as the post, the form. Okay, even this one. Let me go back one more time. All right, you see here. Now, I can actually here and change it to 2, and then here we change it to what is that? Desktop. The second one is what? Laptop. I can just change it by here. Then I can get it, right? Now here, if you know how to do that, you can always change it. You can always change the value. Okay. Now let's say one of the categories you don't want to show it to the customer, then you have a security problem. If they know the number, they can see it. Now form, you don't get to see that, right? Form is like this, it's inside. So to allow people, form or post seems to be a little bit more secure than the get. The get you can actually change here. Now the problem is using something called browser proxy program. Okay, you can anything that you send out from the browser, including this get, or when you click this go from post, can be all intercepted, tempered before you get sent out. So that's not secure. So so session variable is very important, especially now for this example, it's log in and log out, right? And from the moment the customer log in, until the customer log out, you always want to remember what type of customer he or she is, so can you feed them with different type of different information or treat them differently. And that that user information usually is confidential. You don't want to send it through this all the time, right? And also it's too much hassle. Every time when you send it back, somewhere you have to create a query variable to store username and password. I mean username in this case, or session variable value. It's just too much work. So it's really ideal that we create session variable and then store that in the memory. Okay, so that is what we're going to learn in terms of web development through this application called login and log out. Right, so we're going to do that. First of all, we need to create a custom table with 2 fields: email, all right, and this is his email. Username same as email. Okay, nowadays password. All right, and then add a couple of customers to the table. I'm going to do it with you. Later on in your online store, you're going to create your own. Now, and also in template, master page, very similar to the search box. Somewhere on top, we need to create a login hyperlink control. I'm going to show you what is hyperlink control in a few minutes. A login and a logout, just consider them as a link. A login link, a logout link, and also a tag to display customer username. Why a tag? I will explain when I go to that code. Okay. And then so you have a link to click, so you log in, and once you log in, okay, once the customer successfully log in, and this login hyperlink control should be hidden, and you show them log out, right? That's logic. That's very that makes sense, right? Once you log in, you shouldn't still show them log in, a link there. You should just hide it, and then show them log out. So at the very beginning, you only have this login link there. They click it, show them the form. Okay, they supply using password, click submit, you authenticate it. If it's good, all right, then hide login and display logout. At that time, there's another place that you show in customer name. Now in our template, we're going to use a tag. Again, I'm going to tell you why later. After that, we're going to create login.asbx. Inside the login.asbx, we have a text box for email, a password for customer to enter password, and then a button, login button for them to click. So and also a message the label to show them if you have successfully logged in. Okay. And then we need to develop login script in the login.asbx.vb to authenticate user. Now here's the logic. If the customer is successfully authenticated, then we're going to create a session variable called session email to store the customer's email, and then redirect them to default.asbx. In this case, we have choice. Either show state login with the message, or with this message showing me, hey, you have been successfully authenticated, or redirect them to the default page. You can do both. You can do either. Okay. Now, what the advantage of redirecting them to customer default Asbx is you just want them to start buying. Don't wait. Don't wait. Now, if the customer is unsuccessfully authenticated, to show them the message on the on that label, saying login fail. Okay, and not just that. Okay, in the template master.vb file, we need to develop script in the in page load event to check if the session email exists. Now, every time when you run a page, okay, run an Asbx page which use template.master, we need to go through this because what? Because we just want to find out if this customer is a authenticated customer or just a regular retail customer, guest customer. So we can feed them different information and treat them differently. In order for you to do that, every single page in the page load, what I mean every single page is every page that uses template, right? Master page. Yeah. So in master page, we need to have this routine in the page load to check. Okay. Now, if this exists, that means what? This if it runs any page that prove that session email exists with a value, then we're going to hide the login. We'll do here login hyper control, and then show the logout hyperlink control. At the same time, we want to show the session email in the customer table. Okay. Now this green part is something that I will not do with you. You need to do by yourself. Okay. So that is what we're going to do. So I'm going to go back to Visual Studio now and work with you. Now, first of all, right? First of all, we need what? We need to create three, create some control in the template, the master file. Okay. And we are going to do it here. No, let me show you what I'm going to do. We're going to do it here. Okay. So we have a log, so we already have a login in the original HTML template. Okay. But this is what? This is a HTML, a link. We want to convert that to a server, to control, web control, ASP web control, or ASP server control, whatever you want to call it. It's called hyperlink control. Okay. And then also have a logout, but we want to hide it to begin with. Okay. So we go back to Visual Studio. It's out here, right? We have login here, right? And then let me copy. Let me just copy, the existing code, so I don't have to type everything again. Just a second. Just a second. All right, so let me go to my code. I will just do this. Wait. Okay. Now, all right, so we don't need this one, okay? So I'm going to replace this one by 3 line. Okay, now this one is called hyperlink control. Okay, here, hyperlink control. I call that HL login, run that server, and the navigate URL is one of the properties. You need to specify which page you want to run, and this actually will be converted into a tag, like this, a tag. All right, and for logout, we use another property called visible to begin with. It's false. So at the very beginning, when you run this, template SPA template master page, this will, the login hyperlink control will be shown, but the logout will be hidden. Okay, and the third one is just plain a tag. Okay, we're not, this is, this is the opportunity. I'm going to introduce you one more thing. Okay, we've been using, the web control, ASP.NET, control, server control, right? Like text box, like label control, those data bound control, a lot of them. And that doesn't mean we cannot use original HTML, tag. We can still use it. Now, you see, this, this CSS here. You see up here, account, wish list. Account, wish list, checkout, cart, login. This is what? This is horizontal arrangement of this, so-called, mouse over, what do you call this? Mouse over, kind of effect, like this. And same thing, right? I already explained that to you before. It's using UL and LI. So every entry is LI. Now, so I'm using li, but inside I'm using the plain HTML tag. In order for us to use this one at runtime, in order for ASP.NET to treat that as a server control, all you need to do is just say run as server. You get it, right? Any HTML tag, I'm not saying every almost every HTML tag. If you add a run as server, that will be treated as a server control. So the ASP.NET can actually use it, okay, at runtime. And then after that, this will be convert into HTML tag. Okay, so we add these 3 lines here, all right? And the second step is let's create a table. We're going to add a new table, and we're going to call that we're going to call customer table. Customer table. Same thing, ID, and we want that to go to property window, go to this identity, just specification property, right? And well, of course you can call that we better name customer ID, and then we have this email, right? Character 10. Oh no, not 10. Yeah, it's longer. See, 30. Then we have password 10. Okay. Update. Done. And after that, let's again refresh table and then go directly into the table and manually enter 2 value. Now I'm going to do here is I'll just say test, okay? Test, let me say test add test.com, password test. And the second one, let's say, John, and password John Doe. All right, so we have 2 customers. All right, then we are going to create a login Asbx, right? All right, so project, add new item, create web form with master page. Call that login Asbx. Add, choose template master, okay, and we have this. And what we need to do is here, okay. We're not going to use our eShopper template. We'll make it simple. We just create remember we didn't create text box for email, text box for password, it's a button, and also a message, right? Okay. So again, let me go get some code. So I don't have to type everything to save some time. And that's my login Asbx. So do. All right. So I click the wrong thing. All right, I'm back. So I'm gonna place out here. So I'm using, some division I'm familiar with. Oops. Oop. Okay, so and the four columns on the left, I have a division. Okay, I think I can remember. I think I used the login form CSS that comes with the template. I have H2 tag to say logging into account, email, and then text box email, text box, and then password. Okay, and then password, and then text box, password, button, login, and message. Okay, it's all here. It's all here. All right, so I want to make sure we have the form before we proceed to write, to do the code behind. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and run this default in the browser. And then go to my oh. Right over here, we have login here, right? So you mouse over it, it actually says down here, login to Asbx. So click it. All right, we do. So I'm still using, the original template. So log into your account here, you can say, registration, right? User sign up. Like that. So over here, okay. So next step is we need to write in a script to do that, to do the authentication. So go back to Visual Studio. Now, how do I go to login to asbx.vb? Question. One point.
Isn't it F7 for the shortcut?
Okay, F7, right? That's one way. Another way to do is you can right click this and then view code. Okay. Same thing, right? Okay, so out here. Now, tell me what I need to do here first. 1 point. Think about what I'm going to do. What am I going to do here? What does logging the Asbx do?
Would you need to grab the user's input into the two fields, the username and password?
Okay, you want to do authentication, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to do that, what do I need to do first for this page?
Do you need to import?
That's right. Now, even though that's number one, that's in terms of coding, but before that, there's still one thing I need to do. Okay, you all get 1 point. Okay, that is what that we actually need to have an event, right? We're not going to do this in the page alone. We need an event. So the event is going to be the button login, and then the click event, right? What do you do here? And then, yeah, you're right. So we need to do import because what? Because we need to authenticate the customer by using a database. And so let's just get. Ooh, I want to get some sample. Okay, now let's category we don't have. should have been product detail Asbx. This. All right, so import two classes. And then over here, okay, what do I need to do? The first line, what do I do? If you have answer, to my previous question, and you know the answer, why don't you let some other people do it? Try, some other people try. What do I need to do here? What do I need to check? If I don't check, if some condition is not satisfied, I don't want to run this login. There's no point to authenticate anybody.
If they're already signed in?
No.
If there's any input?
Yes. So if TB dot text is not equal to blank, and also TB password dot text not equal to blank. Then we proceed, otherwise we don't. Now, of course, you also need to do something called data validation, okay? I will talk about it not today or tomorrow, data validation. You can actually do it on the client. You can do client-side data validation or server-side data validation. In other words, before they come in on the browser, you can make sure that these are not blank before they actually send it out to this login to Asbx. But for security reason, again, right? Anything from server side is no good. So even though you have client side validation, sometimes we don't call that validation. We just call that assistance. You still need to do server side validation. So this is you cannot just leave it. Okay, you have to have it. All right. So here, what we need to do is we need to do our database, right? Write all the database code. All right. So I'm going to give that code. All right, so connection string, connection object, command object, data reader object. Build the SQL statement. Select everything from customer with email equals to. Now this is text, so we have single quote, double quote, right? And then double quote, single quote to close it, and then and password, single quote, double quote, ampersand, and the password. And you want to do trim all the time, okay? Because it's a lot of users to do all kinds of things. And substantiate the connection object, substantiate the command object, open the connection, and then execute the execute the reader, and then so we can get the data and then store in this data reader called DR customer. Then we're going to check to see if the customer has a value now. If there's a value, it means what? There's a match. And immediately we're going to create a system variable called email and then store the email value in that system variable. And then we're going to say, we either say, this login succeed or we just redirect. Now, these two lines cannot coexist, right? If you do like this one and immediately redirect, user is not going to see this. Okay. So I will just put like that, comment it out. So we can do this or do this. So let's say I choose, just redirect to default Asbx. Okay, otherwise your login fail. Right, so I'll give it a try now. Oh, wait a minute. Why am I having? Oh, okay. All right, I need to go to Firefox. All right, so I'm gonna click login. Let me do something intentionally wrong and log in. It says login failed, right? Of course, it's, in terms of CSS that's no good. You need to make it better. Well, I'm going to do the correct thing. Test at test.com. Password test login, and they redirect to default Asbx. Now, next step, what you need to do is we still need to tell just somewhere to signify that the customer is already in the after authenticated mode. So we need what? We need to hide this login and replace it by log out. And also we're going to display the email here. Okay. For that, we're going to go back to Visual Studio. And what we need to do is in the template, where's my template? Template master.bb. And the page load here, somewhere here. Okay. And it should be on the top, right? Somewhere here, we're going to do a if session email is not equal to blank, then we're going to do what? We're going to hide the login.asbx. Login.asbx. No. The login hyperlink control. So it's HL login. Remember, the property is called visible, right? Equal false. At the same time, let me go back to template master here. See that the logout by default it is visible is false, right? We need to toggle it. We need to bring it back to true. So HL logout dot visible equal to true. At the same time, we need to show the email and the it's called label. What do I call that? Oh no, it's called href. Okay, href customer. href customer. You see this one? Because it's run that server, so at runtime we are at runtime now. We can use it. So it is, it's being considered as one of the component of server control. And then .text. No, it's not. No, it's not text. Okay, for HTML tag, if that HTML tag can actually contain some text, and the property is called inner text, inner HTML. I think inner text. I kind of forgot the property name. It should be. Let me think about it. Yeah, I think it's inner text. And then equals to what? A question. Where do I get a value? Customer email. Where do I get that customer email? Nobody?
It wouldn't be a request query string, would it?
No.
Right.
We never store that email in query string variable. Remember that? We want to keep that confidential or something, you know? And also, where do we store that? Where do we store that email information?
Database, right?
But here, you know, if it, I know it's in database, but how do you gonna get it from database view? If you want to get it from database, you need to go through that authentication process one more time. In a session variable, right, guys? What happened to you guys? It's the session variable, right? We're storing the session variable. Okay, I'm gonna give it a try. Oh, I'm sick, man. I'm not feeling well, totally. All right, I'm gonna log in again. So I just start another browser window. Login is here. Login's gone. We have log out. And then we have test.com here. So we learn how to handle this session variable for this application. We also know how to display something, to hide, show something, hide something. Okay, and also we learn how to use the HTML tag as a web control. Okay. I was talking something that I can do it if I have time today. Do you guys remember what that is? You guys remember? Earlier in the class, there was something I want to talk about. Then I say if I have time today or next Wednesday, I will talk about it. Do you remember what that is?
I don't know. Was it still something related to sessions or no? I don't remember.
I can't remember. Yeah, he'll come back. He'll come back. All right, so what do you need to do for your project number one? Okay, now project number one is due next Monday. I'm not done yet, okay, guys. Next Monday, it's you in a class, you zoom in, okay. You're gonna zoom in a different Zoom ID, in my as my office hour Zoom ID. So you can all zoom in, and then you can stay in the waiting room. Then I'm going to take a look at one after one based on the order in the waiting room. I'm going to spend 5 minutes up 22 students, 23 students. Okay, so I'm able to spend like at least 3 minutes, grading plus giving some comment on your project number one. Okay. So what you need to do is before you zoom in, you should run your own online store in the browser. At the same time, you have your Visual Store, Visual Studio on the side. Now I'm going to take a look at your browser. I'm going to tell you, click this, click that, so I can. For example, I'm going to have you click in the main category. Then I'm going to have you click in the subcategory. I'm going to have you click one of the product, right? and then I will come back to have you, enter in a value in the search box, and then figure out what happened. So you'll just follow my instruction. At the same time, I'm going to take a look at your HTML template and give you some comment. So each of you is 3 to 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah, just 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes most. Okay. All right, this is what you need to do, beyond what I show you today on this login and log out. In product detail Asbx, you want to check if the section variable is not null. In other words, you want to see if this user, okay, the user has been authenticated. If not, when I say if not, it's not null. In other words, this user has been successfully authenticated. You're going to show 20% discount on the product detail page. In other words, you have very easy, right? Just check to see if section variable exists, and then show them 20% discount. In the category.asbx, check to see the same thing. Check to see if the section variable is not null. If not, show a 20% discount on the price. So what I mean, this is what I mean. Okay. Let me go back to here. Now, once the customer is successfully log in, on the product detail page, you should show them, a price with 20% discount. At the same time, on the product list here, either it's feature product or product list, you should show them a discount price here. In category Asbx, it's a little bit more challenging. Here's a hint: you need to create a function and go behind to calculate the discount. Okay, I always say here. So function to calculate in the category.asbx.vb and call it from the category.asbx. In other words, in the category.asbx page, you find out where is the place you. Let me show you. In the category.asbx page, category.asbx page, figure out where is the place that you show, the price is here, right? Over here, you can say whatever function name, something like that. Okay, and then you go behind, you create a function. So in other words, you need to learn by yourself, okay, on your own, how do you create function in ASP.NET, in the category.asbx page. Somewhere here, you need to create a function. Okay, inside the function, you get input. Where's the input? Input is, where's category? Input's here, right? That is the input. Because you have function, over here you say function, and then this become input. Right? And this input inside your function, you just have to what? Times 120%. No, times 80%. Big discount. All right, let's hint. So. You also need to create a logout Aspx. For the logout hyperlink control. Okay, so, remember on top, down the right hand, upper right hand corner, we have a logout, the link control. You click it, you need to run this logout down. You need to run this page. Logout is, and that page, the code behind, you need to write some code, to log them out. What do we mean by log them out? All you need to just erase this section. So from that point on, the section's gone. You learn how to do it. Google it and see how do I ASP.NET, how do I erase, how do I delete a section, right? And after that, you hide what? You hide logout, hyperlink control. You show the hyperlink. You bring the hyperlink control. Login hyperlink control back, and then you hide, the label customer. Any question? Now Wednesday, I'm going to give you a review on the SEO. Make sure you read it. You have read it, okay? I'm going to spend probably like 30 minutes to review, and then I'm going to apply. Okay, I'm going to show you how we do some of the SEO on the online store, and that basically just demo. You're not required to do it. Okay, I'm going to show how do we dynamically create different meta tag. How do we create do something called URL rewrite. Okay, a few very important things I'm going to show you. But I want you to remember, if you have not watched the two, the lecture video, please do.